I've been using this for a while now, so I figured I would share some thoughts. I am saying all of this from regular day-to-day use at home, not from reading a spec sheet. If you are someone like me who has crumbs in the kitchen, hair on the floor, and the usual mess that shows up even when you feel like you just cleaned, this kind of robot vacuum is meant to handle the repeat work. It is not really for deep cleaning a neglected carpet. It is for keeping things under control so you are not pulling out a full-size vacuum every other day. The reason I wanted this model in particular was the self-emptying base. I have owned robot vacuums before, and the part that made me stop using them was the tiny bin. It fills up fast, especially with pet hair, and then you are back to doing maintenance constantly. With this one, when it finishes a run or when it decides the bin is full, it goes back to the base and empties itself into a bag. In my house, that changes how often I think about the vacuum. Instead of emptying a bin every run, I just swap the bag when it is full, and that is more of an occasional chore than a daily one. In person, the robot itself is a low, round puck. It is tall enough to feel solid, but low enough to get under most of my furniture. The finish is a simple mix of darker and lighter tones, and it does not look distracting sitting on the base. The base is bigger than a normal charging dock because it has the suction system and the bag inside. I keep mine against a wall in a corner of the kitchen, and it stays out of the way as long as you give it some space to dock cleanly. Setup was straightforward. I used the iRobot app on my phone. It walked me through pairing, connecting to wireless internet, and starting the first mapping runs. The first couple of times I ran it, I did not expect perfect results. I let it wander and learn, and after it had enough time to see my layout, the map became usable. Then I could name rooms, set schedules, and tell it where not to go. I put a keep-out zone near the pet bowls and another one near a spot with cords, because this vacuum does not magically know what a cable is. If I forget to tidy up, it will bump into things, and sometimes it will tug on a loose cord if it catches it just right. Once the map is set, daily use gets simple. Most of the time, I do not press the button on the robot. I start cleanings from the app. If there are obvious crumbs under the table, I send it to that area. If I am leaving the house, I start a full run. If it runs low on battery, it goes back, charges, and then continues where it left off. That matters in real life because my home is not a single open room. It can take time to do everything, and I do not want a robot that gives up halfway through. Navigation has been mostly consistent. It cleans in a more organized pattern than the older random bounce robots I tried years ago. It does a back and forth path, and it usually covers the space without leaving strange, untouched stripes. Along baseboards and edges, the side brush helps pull dust out where the main rollers can grab it. Corners are still corners, though. It gets closer than I expected, but I still find a little line of fine dust in tight corners sometimes. That is not unique to this robot. It is just a reality of a round vacuum. On hard floors like tile and hardwood, it is at its best. In my kitchen, it picks up crumbs, dry cereal, and pet hair without me needing to follow behind it. I also notice it handles day-to-day tracked in dirt pretty well. On area rugs and carpet, it does a solid job with hair and bigger debris, but very fine grit is where it can struggle a bit. If you have sand or very fine dust deep in thicker carpet, it may not get all of it in one pass. In my case, that means I still do a regular vacuum session once in a while, but I do it less often because the robot keeps the surface from getting out of hand. The dual rubber rollers are one of the practical reasons I have kept using it. With bristle brushes, I used to spend too much time cutting hair off the roller. With these rubber rollers, hair still collects, but it is easier to pull off and it tangles less aggressively. I still check it, because maintenance is part of owning any robot vacuum, but it is more manageable. Noise is also worth talking about. While it is cleaning, it is not silent, but it is a steady sound that I can live with while I am working or watching something. It is nowhere near as loud as an upright vacuum. The loud moment is when it empties into the base. That part is intense for a few seconds. The first time it did it, I looked over like, okay, that is louder than I expected. Now I am used to it, and I actually prefer that it empties strongly and quickly instead of dragging it out. There are a couple of real limitations I ran into. One is low light. Since it uses a camera for navigation, it can get less confident when the room is too dark. If I try to run it late at night with the lights off, it may slow down or act confused in certain areas. With a few lights on, it is fine. Another limitation is obstacle avoidance. It will bump into chair legs and table legs. It does not carefully weave around clutter the way some newer robots try to. For me, the fix is simple. I do a quick floor check before I start it. I pick up small toys, make sure socks are not on the ground, and keep cords off the floor. If you want a robot that can handle a messy floor without preparation, this is not that. The self-emptying base has been reliable for me. It docks, it seals, and it empties without me touching the bin most days. The bag system is clean. When the bag is full, I pull it out and throw it away. I do not get a puff of dust in my face the way I do when I dump a small dustbin into the trash. The trade-off is that you are buying replacement bags and filters over time. That is just part of the ownership cost, and I think it is worth knowing up front so it does not surprise you later. In terms of build quality, it has held up well in my home. It bumps furniture, rides over thresholds, and gets nudged now and then, and I do not see anything loose or broken. The dock stays put. The robot does pick up scuffs over time, but that is normal for something that drives under furniture. So where do I land on it after using it for a while? It has become part of my routine, which is probably the best compliment I can give a robot vacuum. I run it often, and my floors stay noticeably cleaner with less effort from me. It does not replace deep cleaning, and it does not solve every edge case like cords on the floor or thick carpet full of fine grit. But for everyday mess, especially on hard floors and normal rugs, it does the job with minimal attention, and the self-emptying base means I am not constantly dealing with a tiny bin. If you have been thinking about a robot vacuum because you want less daily cleanup, and you are willing to do basic prep like picking up clutter, this is a practical option that I think makes sense. If this video helped, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment with your questions or your own experience with robot vacuums. Thank you for watching.